I hope you're having a good day because we're about to learn something really cool. We're about to learn about marketing, and I have a very special guest with me today. It's Mindy Morgan Avitia. She is the founder of Grow Wild Creative, a digital marketing strategist who's been in marketing for 10 years. And she learned so much from impact driven brands, and she's given them creative voice to help them achieve their financial and growth goals. So now she's here to share all her tips and tricks with us. And it's going to be a very entertaining webinar. What the F is my marketing doing for me? Building strategies for better business. Hi, Mindy. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Olga. Thank you so much for having me. And welcome, everyone. I'm excited to be here. Thank you to Olga, of course, and Austin Businesswoman for having me. I'm a Jersey girl at heart, so I had to have what the F in my title. And I just would really love to dive into WTF is my marketing doing for me, and let's build strategies for better business. I'm not sure, I'm kind of new to Restream, so I wanted to get a little bit of a pulse check to see in 2 words, how do you feel about your current marketing strategy? You could leave it in the comments, I believe, Olga, right?
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you can just type your comment on YouTube, and it will appear on our chat stream. I don't know if you need to be logged in for it, but
Okay.
I mean, I think we can start going, and if comments appear, we'll bring them up to the screen.
Okay.
But I can answer. I don't feel very confident about my marketing strategy, so I feel like there is always room to grow and improve. And the common question and comment you hear from a lot of small businesses is, you don't know what you don't know, because you might think that you have it under control, but then someone's like, well, have you been doing this or that? And you're like, I didn't even know it was an option.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I feel that way sometimes, even just in my own marketing business. So I think that's completely relatable. Well, great. Yeah. If you have any comments throughout, leave them. We'll answer them as we go on. Like Olga said, I am Mindy, and I have 10 plus years as an impact driven marketer for both local and national organizations. I'm Jersey born and Texas made, as I like to say. I've been in Austin for about 10 years. One of my strengths is content strategy and event marketing, and one of my weaknesses is definitely my 2.5-year-old's little hugs. They're like little dopamine doses, and I cannot get enough of them. And a weakness or strength, however you like to view it, is I'm currently 8 months pregnant. So if
Woo!
I, yeah, so I'm a mompreneur. I'm out here working, pregnant. It's hard, it's rough, it's hot in Austin, but I just wanted to say that too, in case I am out of breath or whatever. That's probably because there's a little tiny human on my lungs. But
You have two brains, so you're
yeah,
double the smart you are.
yeah, I have 2 brains. I like that. I never thought of it that way. I have 2 of everything, really. I have a little
Exactly.
girl in here, so 2 of
Oh,
everything.
nice. Double girl power. Let's
Yeah,
go.
double girl power. And I have a daughter, so we're
Triple.
triple girl power here. Um, yeah, so what we're going to talk about today is common marketing woes that I see in small businesses with my clients. And I also really want to demystify enterprise marketing, right? There's a lot of jargon out there. It can feel a little inaccessible and a little unattainable. And then I'm going to walk through step-by-step a marketing funnel and how to create strategies and content for each stage of the buyer's journey. So when I say buyer's journey, I mean marketing funnel. I'm going to use those interchangeably. So they're basically synonymous. And then I'll end on a little high horse about the case for an owned media strategy and why you need to employ one for your small business.
So excited.
So
People ask questions. I see that people are watching, so you can always ask questions in the chat.
yes, please. And Olga, if you do, I don't see the chat up, so feel free
I'll
to
let
send
you know.
it. Yeah, okay. So some small business marketing woes that I see often, time and time again, we have our time and resources, right? That means that you don't have enough people to actually do marketing for you, especially if you're the only one. You're wearing many hats. You're the owner, you're the founder, you're the COO, you're also the chief marketing officer. It's really hard to have all of those hats. And so that takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resources. It could also mean that there's not a big enough marketing budget, and that can look like you're not investing in paid opportunities as much. And with paid opportunities, it really, you really have to test with paid opportunities of A/B testing, see what resonates with your audience, see what doesn't. And that takes a heavy lift of investment, which is just, it costs money. And so this is one major resource that I see one hurdle small businesses have. And then, of course, there's just not enough time in the day when resources need to be focused on your operations and delivering great services and products instead of focusing on how you're going to attract people to them. The second thing, the transitions are a little wonky on this slide, so just bear with me there.
I love them.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe.
The second thing I see is consistency. When you don't have a lot of time for marketing, it's hard to follow through on consistent marketing efforts. And this can look like not posting enough. It can look like sending an email here and there and not having a strategy behind it. And it can look like putting resources into paid opportunities sparingly when the budget is there and when it's not. And so this often does not work when it comes to paid ads or partnerships or anything, because it takes consistency over time to see results. And so if you don't have consistency, your marketing will probably suffer, and that obviously translates to your awareness and your sales. A third hurdle, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with as small business owners, is market understanding. And this can happen in different ways. So if you're on a shoestring budget, it will look like trial and error until you found where your target customers are and what they want, right? You're on Instagram, and then you're on LinkedIn, or you're on your website, or you're trying SEO, or you're trying blog posts, whatever. You're kind of throwing all the spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And that's one way to understand your market. I mean, it's one way of market research if you really think about it. In the enterprise level, it's usually done, with extensive research and market analysis, and that costs so much money and so much time. Often you're working with third-party consultants who come in and they're interviewing stakeholders, they're talking to people, they're seeing where your potential customers are, they're seeing where they're not. And that means on marketing platforms, it means what they're thinking, what their demographics are. It's a lot. And then they give you this perfect little report and they say, here you go. And then you could build a nice marketing strategy. And I wish everybody could do that and have the access to that, but it's just not realistic, especially if you're the only one doing marketing or if you have a small marketing department. So really taking on that market understanding that you have with your trial and error, especially at the beginning, can be valuable, and documenting that can help you scale as well as you grow. So, you don't want to be the keeper and the bottleneck of all your knowledge. You really want to, if you want to scale and expand, you really want to share that with new employees. So misunderstanding your marketing or your market, can show up in a lot of different ways, like I mentioned. And it can also look like chasing dead and cold leads. And these leads that were never really going to buy or engage with your business. And so in the beginning, I know for me, when I started my consulting business, I would answer every single inquiry that came in. I would talk, I would listen to budgets, I would do everything. And it was just, I quickly realized who was going to pay for my services and who wasn't. And so I drilled down my market. And it can also show up in being on the wrong social media platform, right? You don't want to be where your audiences aren't. And so, for example, as a marketing strategist, I'll spend more time on LinkedIn than I will on TikTok and Instagram because that's where most of my clients are. I'm a B2B business. I like to work with, larger businesses who are hiring strategists for small campaigns. So that usually means bigger budgets, and they're usually on LinkedIn.
Hmm. Great point. We
Yeah.
have a comment from our audience. Nia Ford is asking, what would you recommend to avoid the gap of consistency? So I guess that addresses point number two.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I address it further on in the presentation, and I think really having a plan and understanding where your weaknesses are. So if consistency is your weakness, creating a plan and a strategy that addresses what that consistency looks like so you can set yourself up for success. We'll talk about that when we talk about demystifying enterprise marketing and how we can really create strategies and plans that work for us and our time.
Great. Well, Nia, keep watching. Mindy has
Yeah,
all the answers for you.
I don't know about that, but um, and then the fourth thing is a manual sales process. And this can really trip people up. It can delay marketing efforts, which ultimately, your marketing is meant to bring more business. And so investing in automated processes can help you streamline these efforts. It could look like hiring a virtual assistant if you have a longer sales cycle because, maybe you can't afford an admin or a part-time or full-time role. So you can hire a virtual assistant on a contract basis, and they can help you systematize and automate sales processes to take the load off of you a little bit. And, if you're not familiar with long sales cycle, short sales cycle, just for reference, short sales cycle is like e-commerce. You put something in the cart, you hit checkout, you pay, you're done. The shortest sales cycle ever. And then longer sales cycle, like my sales cycle takes about 2 to 4 weeks for the decision-making process. And there's a lot more customization involved. So I have to have, pitches and just kind of blanket boilerplate statements that people are asking over and over again so that I'm not constantly doing this manually, right?
I
And
actually
then
wanted, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's other sales processes that can take, up to a year, but that's likely not a small business. So,
Yeah, I wanted to address that because a lot of times people don't know what they should expect because as we know, I work in enterprise sales and it does take a year sometimes because it's a lot of decision makers, a lot of buyers, a lot of people involved, a lot of processes. And then, as you mentioned, there is e-commerce where you look at something, it might be an impulse buy, you saw a nail polish, you bought it, it's already been shipped to you. So is there any kind of rule for service-based, product-based businesses where they should try to focus? Because if they can do without a cold call or lead nurturing, then maybe they should focus on that. Or if they have some product or service that you can't just sell over Instagram. So how should they structure their strategy?
yeah, that's a great question. I think really understanding at first how long does it take on your end? So what's the manual process? Are there operations that you need to set up? So for example, with enterprise sales, there's probably demos and all kinds of stuff that you're talking about and you're talking to different people, different stakeholders, different decision makers. And so when you think about that for your operations, obviously the sales cycle is going to be longer and you need to boil that down into points that you can strategize for and create content for. If you have a quicker sales cycle, say if you are selling nail polish or whatever that is, then automating that process as quickly as possible. So if it's on Instagram or if it's on, Shopify or whatever it is, like really drilling down that to make it seamless because people will leave at the drop of a hat, where the shorter the sales cycle, the shorter the time and and effort that you have to really convince them in the decision-making process. So I think the shorter the sales cycle, the more automated and more tight it needs to be. The longer, the more open it is for customization, I think is a safe rule when you're thinking about your strategy.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. So I love that you're in enterprise sales, Olga. I didn't know that. So
Yeah,
I'm
I like
sure you'll.
combining small and local businesses with big and global, and people are selling to people. So that thing never changes. That's why I think everything you prepared today is going to be useful for whatever stage of career or whatever scale of business they work, because people are going to be always buying to people, whether it's a nail polish one click sale or if it's a enterprise big sale with a lot of people involved.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, because I often say that there's no such thing as B2B, like business to business, because at the end of the day, even if your business is buying from another business, you are a person buying from a person, or you're a person selling to a person. There's still that relational aspect that we can't ignore. And I think that often gets lost when you see like B2B marketers, and I just like making it empathetic and ethical as well. Sales can be real unethical real quickly.
Yeah, and those are bad salespeople. It's actually good you mentioned the B2B. A great resource book called Marketing for Dummies. We all know that For Dummies is a great series. It is a good place to start. So they say that B2B businesses have a lot of psychological selling. So
Mm-hmm.
people are likely to buy a B2B service or product when they have rapport with the person they're buying from. While for product sales, they are not as loyal. So people are very likely to change their suppliers of product, and it price and marketing of course comes in place, but they're not as loyal to product B2C sales as they are loyal to B2B. So if you
Mm-hmm.
find an accountant you click with, or if you find, I don't know, a marketing consultant that you can really trust, that's going to bring loyalty.
Right. Yeah, it's harder to build trust because you're building trust through an inanimate object with a product, right? Instead of, like, when I work with people, it's just me working with them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's a really good point. So we mentioned B2B, B2C. These are a million acronyms, probably not a million, but dozens and dozens of acronyms in the marketing world that can just feel like really intimidating. And someone who hasn't dedicated their entire career to marketing and sales, these can look overwhelming. I know they did for me when I first started out. I was like, how can I possibly learn what all these things are, whether or not I need them? Do I have to measure them? Do I have to, implement them? What I don't know what I need and what I don't need. And you know, it was a lot. It was overwhelming. And the truth is that all of these different tools and measurements and types of businesses, they're made to help marketers, and that is not just enterprise level marketers. They're made to also help small marketers, small business marketers, and they're made to help our jobs do better. So I just want to demystify it, and this is what it all means. Well, it's not the definition, but this is what all of those crazy acronyms mean. So if
Do a
you get,
little glossary.
yeah, a little
Everyone, take a screenshot, everyone.
yeah. So if you hear, being someone from the content world, people talk about SEO a lot. They talk about click-through rate. They talk about cost per click when you're doing paid ads and stuff like that. And so I often equate it to being a mechanic, where I don't know anything about cars. And if I bring my car into a mechanic, they're talking to me about, oh, I just needed new windshield wipers. But they're like, oh, you also need this, and you also need this, and you also need this. I feel like marketing consultants can be a little bit of that. And I don't want to be that kind of consultant. I want to be someone who helps and partners and co-creates with my clients, instead of saying, hey, this is let's have a CTA over here, let's up our SEM strategy. Like, if you don't know what that means, it could feel intimidating and like I know everything, but I don't, and most people don't. And so it's really about learning your business and learning about which of these you need, which of them you don't. They're all different, and if you have questions about them, I'm happy to answer them after as well.
Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna get a lot of questions because
Yeah.
for a lot of people, I didn't know some of these. I'm like, honestly, marketing, sales, I've been doing it for years. Still, some of those are pretty mystifying for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard, and people have jobs like solely dedicated, like digital marketers, right? They're only thinking about their search engine marketing, and they're only thinking about um, paid opportunities and paid ads and digital ads and display ads and all kinds of stuff. And so they're not even thinking about what's being posted on social or what the blog says. They're only thinking about these four things or whatever. So yes, I'm here to help demystify it.
Yeah, and especially as you mentioned, people need to know what the f those things are doing for them. Like, is it
Right.
even worth learning those abbreviations if they are not applicable to your business, and if you don't need to know anything about them?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. um Another thing that I want to talk about when we talk about demystifying things is that marketing exists for two main reasons. It exists really just to build awareness and to grow sales. Those are the two main functions of marketing. People might say, okay, it also exists for X, Y, and Z, da 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 da. I've been in it for 10 years. At the end of the day, it boils down to either building your awareness around your products, services, brands, etc., or growing your sales. Even if you're a nonprofit marketer, I would say, if you're advocating for a certain cause, or you're fundraising, which is also kind of like growing sales, but or if you have a report and you want people to download it and learn more, that's all awareness, right? So at the end of the day, I believe marketing exists for these two reasons. I'm curious what you think, Olga, if there's pushback here.
No, I agree, and I would also talk a little bit about the thing I hear a lot when people just want conversions. So
Mhm.
obviously, we all want to grow sales, but a lot of people underestimate awareness. And I don't know if you're going to go deeper into it and just explain why do you need to build awareness and how it translates into growing sales eventually.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what we're going to talk about.
Yes,
So,
finally, once and for all.
once and for all, it's a both and. Um, it's both and, right? Like, you build awareness and then grow sales. And then you do it. You constantly do it in tandem. It's not like one is obviously your sales are never going to stop, hopefully, but neither should your awareness campaigns and your brand awareness. So building awareness can look like demand generation activities, which I will talk about and define. It looks like catching people at the top of the funnel, and we'll break down line by line and stage by stage what a funnel is. And then it also is about creating organic content. So not investing in digital ads or display ads or retargeting or whatever it is. It's about creating organic content that's quote unquote free. Obviously, it takes time. It takes your time, it takes staff time, whatever. But it's essentially free to post and to use and to create. So let's break these three bullets down. Okay, so demand generation. This is another sort of jargony term marketers use a lot, but what it really means is that you're creating demand or generating demand for your products and services so that you can provide the supply. This is a little bit different than lead generation. You'll hear them both, demand gen, lead gen, because it's a longer term process and often a little bit harder to measure. Leads are very cut and dry. we have X amount of leads, it grew by X% or didn't grow, and you could track that over time. Demand gen has a lot of different variables that you can track and decide to track. This can look like strategic partnerships with complementary brands. So for example, a marketing strategist, me, partnering with Olga, an Austin businesswoman, to deliver a webinar, right? This can be seen as sort of a demand generation. And then it also means creating content that amplifies why people need your services, right? People are coming to you because you're solving a problem for them, and that could be something like marketing services, and it can also be something like cleaning a house, or it could be something like buying a candle. Each one of those things solves a problem that your consumer is looking for. Another way that we build awareness is by catching people at the top of the funnel, of the marketing funnel, as we call it. So this looks like easy ways to gather prospect information, like newsletter signups, gated content. Sometimes you can even do quizzes. I had a quiz on my website around, what's your brand voice? And then it's almost like a BuzzFeed style quiz. And then at the end, you can give your email address to get your results. And then boom, I have a lead. I have somebody in my mailing list. And it had nothing to do with the sale. It had everything to do with building brand relationship and catching people at the top of the funnel. And so in order to create top of the funnel content, you really want to understand how you want to understand your market, like I said, one of those hurdles, and you want to know how you provide value to your customers and consumers. So all of these tools collect information quickly. The content you provide allows people to relate and say, hey, I want this thing that they're offering. And that's not necessarily the service that you're providing. That could be, in my case, the quiz. Hey, I want to know what kind of brand voice I have. Or it could be a checklist on, if you're a candle sale, if you have a candle company, how to create a romantic environment using candles, whatever it is, a checklist for that, and then make that gated content so that people have to give you their information. The argument there is that less people will interact with it, likely, because they have to take that step in order to get it, but they are more likely a hot lead because they are downloading that, or they're giving you their information, they're taking that extra step. So once we collect them in the top of the funnel, we can move them down to hopefully sales.
Yeah, I think that it's important to emphasize how crucial this step is, because if you just have a beautiful landing page or beautiful website or social media, but you don't give people a chance to ask for more, because why are people signing up for newsletters? Why are people downloading freebies, like get my free ebook or get my, cheat sheet for whatever? Because they want to hear more from you and get more advice from you, or keep in touch and, just read your blog or podcast series whenever they come up. If you don't give them the opportunity to easily just put their email address there and kind of show interest, then you're losing all those leads, because maybe someone is reading your blog every day, but they're not ready to buy from you. They just want to know more. And what Mindy said, you just need to give them the opportunity with one click, one pop-up form, one little thing where they can engage and put their information in.
Yeah, 100%. And Austin Businesswoman does a good job at that, because, not everybody is probably ready to become a member, but, getting on a mailing list is a lot easier than becoming a member, or a lot lower of a lift, I should say.
Yeah, also our platform is for consumers too. So we have more than 15,000 subscribers to our newsletter, and our open rate is about 30%, which is not shabby, I'd say, for industrial standards, which means that we have at least how much? 3,000 people opening it to see what's new in town, what businesses are selling, what stories are being shared, while we only have under 900 members. So
Yeah.
if people sign up, it doesn't mean they want to buy from you directly. Maybe they want to partner. Maybe they want to learn about something. You create audience, you create new ways of promoting yourself, or partnering, or I'm going to shut up.
No, yeah, it's
Because it's
very
not like
true.
affiliate marketing or advertising budget. If you just have an audience of people who want to look at what you do, you don't have to be selling directly to them, but you can use their eyes for boosting whatever sales and marketing goals you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I like to say a lot is like, if you're working in your business full time or even part time, you're thinking about your business probably 40 plus hours a week, if not more, if that's all you do. So, you know, you are at, you're top of mind to yourself all the time. And everyone else is not. The average consumer is thinking about your business like 0 hours a week. And so what can seem like a lot of information coming to collect, top of the funnel content, or to move people down the funnel, it really isn't, because you are thinking about it a lot more than your consumer is. And so unless you're sending like 4 emails a day, it's probably still not that much content.
Yeah.
So the second part of marketing operations, like we talked about, is to grow sales. And that can look like lead generation activities, sales pitches and strategies, and again, moving folks down that funnel, which I promise we will break down after this.
We better.
Yeah, we better. We talk about it a lot. So lead generation is the process in which you identify and cultivate potential customers. It's how you collect new prospect customer information. There are entire departments and roles specific to just lead gen and marketing. So it can look like a lot of different things. Some of the strategies in lead gen are form submissions, lead magnets, which also require form submissions, partnerships, events, sponsorships, gated content, and then, all of your inbound marketing strategies. And so inbound marketing is just another jargony word for strategies where people are attracted to you versus you having to go out and find them. So if you have a strong inbound operation, people are coming to your business often. You have less and less of outbound, having cold calls, reaching out to people. And that's a sign of a strong marketing operation, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second strategy is really around sales, right? So when we're focusing on revenue growth, we have to focus on what that sales strategy looks like. So how do you pitch your services to potential clients? How do you offer your free consultation if that's what you offer? If you do offer the consultation, what do you say in these calls? How do you differentiate yourself from competitors? How do you add value? How do you make yourself relatable and your products relatable? How do you solve the particular problem that they came to you for? So, if you are a product-based company, do you set up at markets? And if, do you have go-to markets that drive sales? And what's your pitch there? What do you say? I would always say start immediately with your unique identifier, so that if you're selling something, you can, that 4 booths down, someone's selling something very similar, you can talk about what makes you different. And then, like I mentioned, outbound strategies are, they're the cold calling. They are, it can also look like a sponsored booth at an event versus, if you're not a product-based marketer and you don't have actual products people can take home, then it can look like a sponsored booth at an event where people come up and learn more. And so that you gather that information, and then you can, again, move them down the funnel. They're in your database and you can really get to talk to them and hopefully convert them into customers. So
Great
lots of
points.
talk.
Yeah, I just wanted to hone in on something you mentioned, that the goal is to try to address a pain or a problem people have. Because
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people doing presentations or doing consultations or discovery calls where they talk about their business. So they do their pitch, they describe all the benefits, all the advantages, forgetting to ask the person what they are struggling with. Because
Yeah.
if they don't have a pain point that you can cover, then they are not going to be interested. Don't rely on a nice to have attitude. Like, I sell this because it's nice to have and you might want it too. But just spend some time asking them, kind of trying to help them sell your product or service to themselves. Like,
Yeah.
why are you here? What exactly are you looking for? And tell them you're not here to sell them something they don't need. Because people always want that confidence that they're not just sitting through a sales call where they're like, we don't care who you are. We're just going to shove something down your throat and you need to buy it from us.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of teeters on like, I wouldn't say that's unethical, but that's definitely not empathetic, right? You're not understanding where your customer and client is and where they need the most support or help. So I know I was guilty of this when I first started out. I was just like, look at how much knowledge I have about content and marketing, and without really understanding, well, what is their problem, right? Is it the way content's laid out on their website? Is it the way it's written? Is it um, there's not enough of it? So really understanding the problem helps bolster the sales strategy as well. So, and based on your business, everybody might have a different type of problem, or they might have very similar problems. So developing strategies that kind of address the variability there is also helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Great point. We have a question from Doreen. She's asking, what is a good way to find your target market? How can you also determine what social media platform is most effective for your business?
That is a good question. I mean, the knee jerk there is to perform some real market research, and there's tools. I know they're a little bit of an investment. There's tools like Meltwater that you can use that can show how people interact with how certain consumers interact with different um, social platforms, how they interact with different industries. You can really understand, you can even put a pixel on your website to see how people are interacting with your site and your social platforms. So that can help drive what your market is and what it isn't. It really, sometimes it takes a little bit of time at first, the old adage, it costs money to make money, but it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I think it's just learn quickly who is coming to you. One great tool that you can use that costs $0 is to talk to your current customers, talk to repeat customers that you have. Why are they repeat customers? What are they thinking? You don't have to talk to them. You could send them a survey so you get a little bit more of like an objective idea. You could get demographic information from them, like where they're living, what their gender is, etc. Or you could get kind of psychographic information, like what do they lean politically, or what are their feelings towards X, Y, and Z, like, so you can understand who your current customers are and then create strategies around that. And then one really helpful thing I've found is looking to people who aren't your customers, or they were just one and done customers, and understanding why they were just one and done. Really advocating for them to be honest with you because you want to learn and you want their insight. I think a good strategy is to always be like, we need your advisory support, or we need your counsel here. So it kind of puts them in a little bit of a power situation so that they feel their voice is being heard and taken into account. And then you can really understand what is working for them and what isn't. And then you can make the decision of either being like, oh, well, this is my target market, and I need to adjust some strategies in order to reach them, or this is not who I want to market to at all. So it's okay that I'm, not focused on them.
Yeah, you mentioned a good term, psychographic, right? I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
pronounce it. It's there is a big distinction between demographic and psychographic, because demographic might just mean your age, gender, where they live, but in our society today, people who live on the same street, the same age, and maybe even went to the same school, they're gonna have very different. They're gonna make very different choices in terms of buying, just because, as you mentioned, of their political beliefs or religious beliefs, or maybe their dietary preferences. So you're not getting as much information from their regular biometrics as you're getting from their interests and their beliefs. So
Yeah.
that's very important. I'm really happy you shared that.
Yeah. And it's very useful information as well, not only for understanding your market, but creating content, because then it hones it in a little bit more, so it's less overwhelming, where exactly the kind of content you're creating, right? There's like the whole field of dreams idea of, if you build it, they will come, which isn't always the case. Like sometimes you have to do a little bit of outreach to make them come, and understanding.
Mm-hmm. Or even looking at your competitors, what makes
Yeah.
them successful, why people go to this particular store or salon or gym. What do you think they're doing differently from what you are doing?
Yeah. Yeah, there's all types of competitor analysis that you can do as well. That was one service that I offered clients. It was really more around competitor analysis in terms of marketing. So what social platforms were they on? Where were they doing well? How were they doing on search? Who was searching for them? And that gave them insight into, oh, okay, we're actually on par with our competitors, or we're very far behind them, or in great scenarios, we are leading in certain areas. And so, yeah, competitor analysis is extremely beneficial.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about the marketing funnel. This is another little poll that you can mull over. I'm curious who is currently using a funnel to plan your marketing strategies. Olga, are you using a
Yes.
funnel?
Yes, but it's probably ugly and very primitive.
um, I my funnel is too. I feel like a lot of them are when we're working on tight teams. Um, so here's a very basic marketing funnel. We have the top of the funnel, which is awareness, which is what we talked about. And then folks move into the consideration phase or the decision phase. And then they move into the actual sale. And then once the sale is done, the funnel is not over. We can move them further along into loyalty and then eventually advocacy. We need to build strategies to create loyal customers who eventually turn into our advocates, right? And so the type of content, awareness, is where you attract customers with valuable, relatable content. And this is sometimes called attraction marketing. In the consideration phase, you want to provide prospects with value. You want to give them concrete reasons to consider you over your competitors and also choose you over competitors. And then you want to get that money, like you want to make the sale. And once you go through conversion, you made it. Woo. And then you want to move them down. You want them to keep coming back with strong loyalty programs and incentives. And after they're loyal, you want them to become brand advocates, because still in 2023, word of mouth remains the most powerful marketing tool that we have in our toolbox, or one of the most powerful tools. It's something that AI actually can't take from us. And, starting at the top of the funnel here and moving all the way down to advocacy can build that trust and help people refer you. over and over.
Could you walk us through an example for a real business? For example, what if I make custom cakes? What are the steps? Like, how do I know where my potential client is in the funnel?
Okay, that's great. So let's actually walk through that with that idea. Okay, with the custom cakes. So with awareness, the top of the funnel, you can build strategies that help move prospects and customers and turn them into repeat customers, right? Your prospective customers become aware of the problem to which you have the solution. So one tactic that I use for creating awareness content is think about who your ideal customer is, what they would put into a search bar to get your services, what would they literally Google search to get that, and then, if you need context, like I do with the cake, then you could really understand, okay, who sells custom cakes in Austin, right? That is a little bit of a harder strategy, not harder, but you're going to be less likely to create a blog post around that and more likely to create, say, a Google My Business page, because then Google My Business will come up and you'll be the custom cake person in Austin, right? Another thing can look like, if you're in Pinterest, right, and you're searching custom cakes for my daughter's 3rd birthday is coming up. So custom cakes for a girl's 3rd birthday party, and then what that looks like. So then you can create a blog post, a reel, a TikTok, whatever you have, what have you, and you could create that in order to, around this 3rd birthday theme, right? And so you could have endless amounts of content thinking about what your customers are searching, and then create that content.
Mm-hmm.
And then to move them further along the funnel, you want to move them into the consideration phase. So your prospective customers consider you over their competitors. And so a tactic for creating consideration content is, what is your unique value? How are you different than your competitors? This looks like emails, targeted advertising, SMS, DMs. This is really, for example, I focus on impact-driven companies. So that can look like nonprofits, social impact companies, whatever. And that is how I create consideration content, because sure, I offer marketing and consultation to people, but if you're just like an e-commerce site that's selling ink cartridges, I might not be the marketing consultant for you, right? But if you are a nonprofit looking to grow your fundraising campaign, then you'll see that I have this experience. And it's more, you're focused more on the problem and the solution and drilling down into your niche.
It's like having a particular flavor.
Yeah.
So a digital marketer with a flavor of bring good to the planet.
Yeah, I love that. That is who I am. I don't think I could do marketing if I didn't feel good about what I was marketing. So that's why I really drilled it down to impact driven. So all of my clients have some sort of tie to making the world a little bit better. I also, at the end of this presentation, I have a little exercise where you can identify what your unique value is. It kind of walks you through a little roadmap of how to identify that, and then that can help you create consideration content and move people further along. What about the cake scenario? If we want to stay on that, how would a custom cake maker create consideration content? There's a lot of C's.
Well, for example, if you mentioned that the cake, you make cakes that are vegan or gluten-free, which would make you different from your competitors. Or maybe you have very quick turnaround. Like you forgot about your aunt's birthday and you remembered, at 11 p.m. at night the day before, and someone's like, well, we deliver overnight cakes, or
Mhm.
anything that just sets you apart.
Yeah. And that can really look like, you know, creating awareness around that differentiator, or it can look like, um, you know, actually at the cake consultation where people are trying the cakes and everything, you can talk about how quick you are, how quick you are with setup, how you can come in 30 minutes before an event, etc. Right? There's
Mhm.
different ways that you can plan for consideration content. And then you move them further down the funnel into conversion. And so after consideration and decision comes conversion. Congrats, you made the sale. And your sales process plays a big role in this step, right? Like I said before, if you have a seamless sales process that's easy for the consumer, then you're more likely to convert. And that, is addressed in the marketing hurdles that we talked about in the beginning. And so that could look like automated follow-ups to ensure that you're still top of mind after the sale is made, right? So if you bought a cake for your daughter's 3rd birthday party, what about next year? Or what about when Thanksgiving comes and the holidays come? And, it's likely you're going to need other sweets in your life before a whole year passes. So how can you really keep people engaged? And again, build the loyalty. So loyalty means, frankly, they just keep coming back, right? They're loyal to you. If you're a cake company, they loved all of the things that happened in the consideration phase. You were quick, you were reliable, and you delivered on the design and the deliciousness of the cake. So all of those are brand experiences, and people will continue to come back to you. And then, some tactics for converting current customers into loyal ones can look like VIP events, special offers. I would always say segment your customers from your leads, because you want to, move people down. You want people to become loyal. You want them to become advocates. So segmenting them into more thoughtful content around, hey, I know that you're a customer, I know you're a client, and we're so thankful and grateful and appreciate you, versus, sending them the same top of the funnel content that you would send somebody who you're just building awareness and trust with, right? That can almost have a negative impact, because you're just like, okay, I don't feel special here. I
Mhm.
like them, but people aren't thinking this, but once they feel special, then, right, it's the Maya Angelou quote, people will forget what you said and what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And so that's
Exactly.
huge in this stage. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah, this,
I saw in our community, I saw a lot of things like client appreciation parties, where clients within the calendar year they get some special gift, and maybe they invited to an event, or they get a special discount on something. For example, you got something for a birthday, you got a cake for your birthday, then you get whatever discount percent off Mother's Day or anything else, and you only get it because you were a customer or are a
yeah,
customer.
yeah, yeah. I mean, those are tactics that make people feel special, in the sense that, like, you're saving them money, you're saving them time. They have an exclusive offer. And so if they get an exclusive offer from you because they were a customer, they'll just keep coming back because they expect that exclusive deal, right?
Yeah, and like, have you seen all those special punch cards at coffee shops where you get
Yeah,
every 10th latte? Maybe I would have only bought one latte there, but now with a
right.
card, I'm like, I need to get another 9 because I can get that free one.
Yeah. Yeah. And bonus points if it's on an app, it makes it so much easier, but that's kind of, that's a investment right there.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, and then the final stage of our funnel is advocacy. And I think it's important to kind of start and think about what brands you advocate for, right? Like, why are you referring people to certain services or certain products? What makes a brand loyal to you? What makes you loyal to a brand, and what makes you advocate for them? Is it because you love the services, or if it's clothes, do you feel comfortable in them because you have a certain body type that isn't necessarily marketed to enough? So they've built trust there. I think really understanding why you are an advocate can help you, be empathetic to why people would be an advocate for your brand as well. Um, and another note, like conversely to that, is that not every customer is going to be an advocate, and that's okay. The ones that are extremely valuable, and so creating strategies to retain them will just keep adding more folks to that top of the funnel that you can move down. And that can really look like a lot of different things. It can look like one-on-one client appreciation or appreciation events, like Olga said. It could look like gifts for clients. If you really trust them, it can look like an invitation to sort of like a low-key informal advisory partner. You can co-create things with them, co-create strategies, lean on them. Especially if you're a small business and you're the founder of the business, I think people really, especially in Austin, really want to be collaborative and want to be a part of something. So inviting people into that instead of being exclusive, like, you don't have to take everybody's advice, but you can listen and be empathetic and receptive to it. And so that can also really help build trust and advocacy, especially if people feel like they're co-creating something. It doesn't have to be your business. It could be, a product, or it can be a service that you offer. Just, hey, what do you think about this? You're one of my top customers, and I'm so thankful for you thinking about starting this new thing. Just that simple personal touch can really build an advocate, and who knows how many people they can bring in with just that one strategy. And so another thing is to give them the tools to be successful. So that can look like referral and ambassador programs, inviting people in. It doesn't have to be a formal ambassador program where it's like, oh, you get 15% off every time you bring in a new client, because sometimes people aren't driven by that. So understanding, again, going back to your market, understanding what they're driven by. If they are, in my case, I'm working with a lot of internal marketing departments. So if they are, then how can I really rely on them and talk to them through, hey, you have expertise, I have expertise, let's talk and get on a call and talk about what that expertise can look like. And then you have a client relationship and maybe even a friend. I'm a relational person.
Even if you get a testimonial from them, they don't
Yeah,
have to refer you verbally every time they see someone, but just leaving that little piece of social proof for you is gonna, speak volumes for your future
yeah,
efforts.
yeah. And if you ask them personally, they're probably more likely to give you good reviews than not. So, cultivating and catering who you ask is also a good strategy for testimonials.
Exactly.
And that's our marketing funnel. That's a very basic one. If you Google marketing funnel, you could see like small ones with 3 steps, or like huge ones with 15 steps. But this is sort of a layman's basic funnel that can really help create a marketing strategy and marketing content to move people along.
Yeah, and it all
Um,
comes down to applicability, because as you mentioned before, it's good to see all those funnels and manuals and on the internet, but then you're like, okay, what does it actually mean when I look at my clients?
mhm, mhm. Yeah, exactly. So does anybody, any questions about marketing funnels or anything we talked about so far?
We're gonna leave Mindy's information, and you can always reach out and ask for a consultation and just have a better picture of your own business and how it all applies to you.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of a soapbox around owned media strategy that I'm not going to take too long to talk about because I realize that we're at 12:30. But really, owned media is your email marketing, your websites, blog, podcasts, and your mailing lists. It's what you own personally, and it's so important to have because Twitter is a perfect example of how things can turn into a shit show very quickly. And so we don't know if Mark Zuckerberg is going to get hit by a bus and Facebook and Instagram is going to turn into a whole different thing. So I would just say keeping an owned media strategy for yourself is super important. We can talk a little bit more about that. But just moving quickly now because we're at the end, I want to sum it all up. Get familiar with your current marketing hurdles so you can better prepare for overcoming them. Everyone has different ones. Adopt enterprise level strategies to build your awareness and grow your sales. And set yourself up for success by mapping out content and activities that align with your marketing funnel. And then that's it. If you want to stay in touch with me, here's my email. I have a QR code here that will lead you to a content strategy roadmap where you can map out content strategy, identify your unique value, create customer profiles. It's really a quick tool to just kind of get high level knowledge of where you're at with your marketing.
This was amazing. Thank you so much, Mindy. I learned so much. I'm sure our audience learned a lot too. And we're going to be sharing a recording. You can reach out to Mindy. She's going to be happy to answer your questions. And yeah, good luck with your marketing. Adopt enterprise techniques because that's where it's real tough. That's where if you do it wrong, they fire you, they lay you off or whatever. So they only do what's efficient, what's actually going to boost sales and bring brand awareness. And Mindy is the right person to ask how to do it.
Thanks, Olga.
Thank you everyone for watching and have a great and productive and brand aware day. Bye.